watching YouTube videos can get pretty confusing for me, at least. I'm guessing you have the same thing that happens. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. So you can turn on one carnivore diet influencer and listen to their video, and they're talking about what you need to do to lose weight. And they'll say, let's say that you need to eat high fat, right? Then you turn on another influencer and they say everybody that tells you about high fat is the way to lose weight is wrong. That doesn't really work, and you need to do this or that. And it's just so on and so on, right? Like every influencer seems to have a different way that they tell you is the way that you really need to lose weight, and everybody else seems to be wrong according to them. So it gets very confusing. So here's my little rant about that. In their own right, they're all right and they're all wrong. What do I mean by that? Well, there are lots of different ways to lose weight. And there are a lot of people that can lose weight a lot of different ways. And there are a lot of people that don't lose weight a lot of different ways. Yes, I'm probably making you even more confused now. But what I guess I'm trying to say is that everybody really is unique. They are different, right? And just because a certain subset of people seem to lose weight a certain way doesn't mean that other people are going to. And here's even the bigger thing of this. It really depends on where you're at, how big you are, how much you need to lose, and maybe you actually need to concentrate on getting healthy first before you're going to lose weight. So let's just break this down a little bit here, okay? Health is the number one thing, and fat loss is really what we want to see, which is going to help with our health, right? We tend to say we want to lose weight, but in reality, it's the fat that we want to get rid of, right? We want to get rid of that body fat and get healthier. So for some people, they're really big, like I was when I first started the carnivore diet, and just eating the right foods, even if I wasn't doing it exactly right, I was going to lose weight. That was going to help me to lose weight. And I did. I quickly, like in the first 3 months, I think it was, I lost 60 pounds. Over the first year or two, I lost over 85 pounds. So I lost a lot of weight. It got harder to lose the longer I went. Like I said, the first 3 months, I lost like 60, 65 pounds, somewhere in there. So it slowed down after that. And the closer you get to not being as big, maybe you're still a little heavy and overweight, but you're not as big, the harder it is to lose weight. The more generalized terms of just eating the right types of foods and eating until you're full, that type of thing, don't necessarily always work anymore. So some people might come into the diet and they're not as big as I was at the beginning. And for them, they struggle. They got to get what's right for them. But part of it may even be that they just need to be healthy first, and they need to eat quite a bit till they're full and get those nutrients in them and get their bodies healthy. And then they can concentrate more on the weight loss, right? Now, there are people out there that'll tell you it's all about calories. There are people tell you that it has nothing to do with calories. And, realistically, calories are just it's a dummied down term for society to understand, because you don't really eat a calorie. A calorie is like a measurement of energy, right? So the reality of it is that you're going to eat something that has mass, right? And you're going to get rid of that mass somehow, whether it's going to the bathroom or just by using it as energy for your body or other functions within your body, right? And the more mass that you eat, the harder it's going to be to, use up that mass, right? You're going to get some that's going to get stored, right? You're going to get fat that, basically fat is like energy stored, basically, right? So you're going to have that. So there is the thought process, eat less, but you don't want to just eat less. And I know that sounds confusing too, but you can ruin your metabolism and then you're not using the energy and using, things for energy, I guess is how I should say it, using that mass. Um, so you got to make sure that you're eating enough. And now it gets even more confusing, doesn't it? And then that's why you get people that say, well, you know what, I can coach you and, it'll cost this much per month. So here's the problem. You're going to go into that coaching. They're going to have you do a few different things, right? You're going to try it for a couple of weeks. If it doesn't work, they're going to tweak it. And they have you try a few more things. Doesn't work, they're going to have you try a couple more things or one more thing or something, So they do the tweaking with you. Instead, what you need to do is kind of soak in everything that everybody says, but find what works really for you, because you are your own person. You're at a different part in your journey than other people are. You can watch my videos and see, like, when I was my heaviest, like well over 300 pounds, and see what I did at that time to lose weight. But if you're not anywhere near that same situation with the same health conditions and so forth, it's not going to necessarily work for you. It might, but it probably won't if you don't have some of the same type of characteristics of what I had. You can look at how I eat now. And if you were not in the same situation as me with the same type of health characteristics, it's probably not going to work for you exactly the same. So you want to figure out what works for you. Okay. I really firmly believe low carb, high fat is the way to go, but how much is right for you depends. It's not necessarily concentrating on high fat. You want to get your protein into the right area for you. Again, it's going to be a bit of a range, but you want to get your protein about right. And then it's eating the right amount of fat that works for you. A lot of times people will say, well, intermittent fasting does well, or every other day eating, that type of thing. So kind of intermittent fasting. And part of the reason for that is because you're not eating as much mass, not calories here, we're talking about mass, all together over a couple day period, right? You're still getting a good amount of food in, but you're eating probably more naturally how things were thousands of years ago. When we would hunt, we would eat a big meal and then we might not eat for a couple of days. So for those people that are doing that and it's working, where they're eating like once a day or once every couple of days, it works well for them. That's probably why it's working well for them, but they found that that works well for them. Other people have a hard time, whether it's mentally just getting to that point of trying to eat that way, that they can't get it to work that way. So they end up eating a couple times a day. And, you might be able to get that to work for you and still lose weight. You probably need to be a little more active. A lot of people will say, look, you can do carnivore diet and not do any exercises and you will lose weight. And if you're really, really heavy, that's probably going to work for a while and then it's not going to work anymore. Now, if you're somebody that is active, you still don't have to necessarily work out, right? And do like specific exercises and stuff because you're pretty active. But if you're like me and you're on a computer a lot and you're not active, you need to do some sort of workout or do things to make yourself more active. And it can be as simple as just walking, just doing, walking several times a day, maybe for 10 minutes or something, or go out for a 20 or 30-minute walk in the evening. It can be that simple. Maybe you're going to do some lifting weights or something, and whenever you have time, different things like that. But getting active is going to help a lot, especially as you have less weight to lose. It gets harder and harder when you get to that point. And if you're somebody that's coming into the carnivore diet and you're not really that overweight, like some people, like I was in the beginning, you might say, okay, people are telling me I can do the carnivore diet and not do any working out and I will lose weight, but I've tried it for a month or 2 months and I'm not losing weight. But in reality, you're not as big as other people were. And maybe you're not even active at all with the job that you have or whatever. You're always sitting at a desk or something. So you're getting no activity. So you have to look at your situation, look at what really works for you, and try different things. So look at all the videos, all the YouTube videos. Look at the videos I've got. Look at the videos that other people have, the doctors have, and so forth, and kind of work at it and find that, experiment and find what really tends to work for you. And then that's what you stick with. And then as you see it getting harder, as you've lost some weight, then that's when you make some more tweaks, because you can't just continue to go with the same thing, because eventually your body catches up to it. You're to a point that you've lost weight and you've got a little bit more remaining. And maybe you're at a point that your body says, hey, I don't need to lose anymore, really. And you just think that you need to. So you got to look at that too. But if you definitely do have a good amount of body fat that you still need to lose, then you got to look at the different things. You might need to get stricter with what you're doing, completely eliminating dairy, butter, stuff like that. Um, having days that you're eating mostly protein with a lower fat content, and then days where you have a little bit of a higher fat content, different things like that. But try different things and find what really works for you, because that's what you got to find. Just because it worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you.